There is a new, really cool Avengers Endgame theory making the rounds on the interwebs. We gotta talk about it. It's kind of blowing my mind. Stay up to date about the nerdy things that you care about. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next episode. What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday to you. I'm, of course, Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. Now, you are gonna love this theory, but before we get into breaking all this craziness down, let's shout out Beckett Papa. Yes, indeed, 1968 is when the first Captain Marvel comic book was published. You definitely know your stuff, and we'll do another nerd card question at the end of this video. Okay, guys, if you've been watching the show for a while, you know I do like highlighting these crazy Reddit theories about Avengers Endgame, especially when they bring up really interesting points or they totally blow my mind. This one here does both, and I'm really hoping that this could be true, and please let this be true. It's pretty sweet. So this one comes from user BergGuy3, and I will link the Reddit post in the comment section below. And it's important to note here, this theory presupposes that the scene we see in the Endgame trailer with Ant-Man is actually time travel. So there's a lot of confusion on whether or not this scene is actually old archived footage or not. But this theory supposes that it is archived footage and that Ant-Man is sending them a message through a different time. So for the sake of this theory, let's assume that that is old footage and, it's somewhere in the timeline that Scott Lang is reaching out to the Avengers. The basic idea in this theory is that Ant-Man or Scott Lang would go visit his mentor first. This would be Hank Pym. Now, what's really cool about this theory is that it sort of explains the plot of Ant-Man just a little bit more. I mean, think about it. Hank Pym says that he had had his eye on Scott for a long time. Now, that could just be because of the heists and different things like that, but it could also be because of this little point in time where a future Scott Lang comes back to him wearing the Ant-Man suit. It also sort of explains why Hank Pym would give an ex-con that he barely knows his most prized possession ever. Again, if it was because of some weird time travel stuff, makes a lot of sense. This theory also supposes that Emma Furman, who a lot of people believe would be playing a younger Cassie Lang, could actually be playing a younger Hope. And that's just aesthetics. They just kind of look like that match would work there. So the basic idea here is that Ant-Man goes, through a time vortex, pops back up in the timeline, goes to visit a younger Hank Pym, meets a younger Hope. So that is the basic idea of this theory, that basically Ant-Man goes into a different time, finds a younger Hank Pym, and this sort of already was seen as being an effect on the current timeline, and sort of could, explain how then Scott Lang gets to send this message through time to the Avengers, or just gets put on the right path. Now, a lot of people have talked about possible problems with this and a time paradox, wouldn't Hope recognize Scott Lang in the future? You know what I mean? Wouldn't that be sort of a problem? Because that's never really addressed. And it could work in the sense that Hank Pym, who's this super smart guy that's probably aware of time travel, at least as a concept, if he indeed meets this Scott Lang character from the future with his own suit and technology, he would already know, look, there's a lot of time paradoxes here. Don't even speak to my daughter. There could be a scene there, but then he shoos her away. He might prevent Scott Lang from even telling him additional stuff about what happened because he's I don't want to know. So the fact that it's Hank Pym could really cut off a lot of the potential time loop problems for this theory. I mean, that's personally why I love the theory so much. It's Hank Pym would be aware of the butterfly effect. He would be nah, we can't, don't tell me nothing. You know what I mean? Scott Lang, it would be very, very interesting. And I also believe that the fact that these quantum suits look a lot like the quantum suits that Hank Pym actually designs for himself to go into the quantum realm could be sort of a clue. There could be a connection there. Perhaps Hank Pym actually does help the Avengers design these suits. We do know that Michael Douglas has talked about being not only in Endgame, but that he and the quantum realm might have a lot to do with future Avengers movies. Now, here's the thing. I think it's a really cool theory. I like where this guy's head was at, BergGuy3, and I like kind of what it opened up for me mentally. I was whoa, what if it's this? You know what I mean? But there's a couple of different problems with this. Number one, I don't even know if this scene in the original trailer is actually time travel. A lot of people have debated this, and it could be in there just to throw us off. Now, I do believe that time travel will happen in the movie, but my big problem with it in the scene in the trailer is why is that van there? If it's really time travel and he pops out of a time vortex, why is that same exact van that has the quantum tunnel there? And if Scott Lang is brought back and realizes what the decimation is and then goes through time, that's only possible if he comes back to the present. So if he, just from what we saw at the end of that end credit scene, he then goes through a time vortex and meets a young Hank Pym, his only concern is getting back to his time. He doesn't even know the decimation happens. He just knows he lost communication with those people and he's trapped in the quantum realm. Now, the reason I like this theory, and I hope that it comes in some kind of a form in Endgame, is because as a big comic book fan, Hank Pym is like the man. He's very smart, on the level with Bruce Banner and Tony Stark. So it would be good to, in my opinion, if there was some kind of a connection there where Hank Pym was involved. And I mean, as another layer of weirdness, it would be cool if Hank Pym from a different timeline was helping the Avengers in the present get the quantum suits so that then they could go back in time and fix all this stuff. I know it's really weird, but just having Hank Pym involved with that would be nice as a comic book fan. But that is pretty much the news, guys. New Reddit theory blowing up about Ant-Man possibly going back in time and talking to a younger Hank Pym. I think it's pretty cool. I expanded on it a little bit with some of my theories and ideas, and also talked about some of the problems that I have with it. So let me know what you think about this theory. Go give some love on Reddit to the post if you think it's pretty cool. And yeah, just let me know your thoughts in general on where this could end up in Avengers Endgame. Now let's check the nerd card before we get out of here. I want to know all the aliases that Hank Pym has had in the comic. It's more than a few. Can you name all of the aliases that Hank Pym has gone by in the comic books in the comment section below? As I always say, guys, I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.